Hello, my name is Bảo Bùi from University of Toulouse. Today I'm gonna present one of our work in the virtualization domain. It's about virtualizing NUMA architecture. So what is NUMA? NUMA stands for non-uniform memory access. It means from a CPU perspective, it will take longer to access some region of memory than others. On NUMA machine, there are NUMA nodes. A NUMA node is just a proper processor with their own local memory. A CPU on a node can access memory on any node, but accessing will be slower than accessing its local memory. So application and system developer need to be careful so that application can have good performance on NUMA machine. For example, we don't want a situation where an application process is scheduled on a node but access memory mostly on the other node, right? So how do hypervisor currently handle NUMA machine? First, we have what we call Blackbox solutions. In this approach, the hypervisor hides the NUMA topology from the VM, and it has some NUMA optimization policy implemented. A NUMA policy suggests how memory, or in general, computing resources get allocated to the VM. For example, we have a round robin or interleave policy, where memory bases get allocated to the VM in a round robin way over a set of NUMA nodes. Or first policy, memory bases allocate to the VM according to the current location of application processes. Or we have automatic NUMA balancing, where the VCPU and memory of the VM can be moved around to optimize the performance. The main drawback of this approach is that application or usually system runtime libraries such as Java HotSpot, tcmalloc, sumalloc, usually have their own NUMA policy, which are optimized for them, and so usually better than the general NUMA policy in the hypervisor. The second approach is called virtual NUMA, or vNUMA for short. In this approach, the hypervisor exposes a topology, a NUMA topology, to the VM. This topology corresponds to the initial resource mapping of VCPU and memory on physical node. For example, if the VM uses two physical nodes, the guest OS will see it has two NUMA nodes with the corresponding amount of the CPU and memory on each physical node. So with vNUMA application, can now use their own NUMA policy. The problem arises with vNUMA when the hypervisor changes the resource mapping at runtime. It can migrate the VCPU and memory bases of the VM to different nodes, and the application and the guest OS don't know about the changes, leading to and continue to use an incorrect topology or a stale topology, leading to bad performance. Yeah. We measure the impact of a stale topology to application performance running inside a VM. Here we compare the performance of vNUMA, a interleave policy. Normally, the performance of application running with vNUMA will be better than with interleave policy. However, when the hypervisor migrates the VCPU of the VM to different nodes, the performance leading to a stale topology. The performance of the VM with vNUMA with a stale topology becomes worse than interleave policy, as we can see here. Yeah. To solve this problem, we try to solve this problem by extending the Para-Virtualization principle. Para-Virtualization is an approach for implementing virtualization where we need to modify the guest OS to cooperate with the hypervisor to do the virtualization job. We extended this principle, so now it's a cooperation of the hypervisor, the guest OS, and the SIL. Yeah. We call it XPV. The general idea of XPV is that when there are changes in topology, the hypervisor will notify the guest OS, which in turn will take into account the changes, maybe update some internal data structure, and eventually the SIL will ask the guest OS about new topology. This schema explains further XPV principle. Here, the black arrow, solid arrow, represent the how memory gets allocated to application processes on NUMA machine. The dash arrow show the component need to be involved or need to be updated in order to be XPV aware in the guest kernel. The red one represents the notification when there is changes in topology. Here we have a topology manager of driver between the guest OS and the hypervisor. It means a part of this driver will be located in the guest OS and the other part will be implemented inside the hypervisor. We implemented XPV in several systems, such as Xen KVM, Linux, FreeBSD, etc., with model changes. Here are some details regarding how XPV gets implemented in such system. We start with the hypervisor, Xen in this case. First, Xen expose an NUMA topology to the VM. This means the VM only see one NUMA node. During the VM execution, the topology driver keeps track of the VM topology data. It's the VCPU to physical node mapping and the physical memory range on each physical node, so that the guest OS can know which memory base is from which node. This information are stored in a shared memory region. Essentially, we need to intercept mainly the VCPU load balancer to update the VCPU to physical node mapping when there is VCPU migration to a different NUMA node. Regarding memory migration, is the guest OS. The guest OS will handle the changes when migrated by return to the by allocator. We'll talk later. One of the major challenges of implementing XPV is the memory allocator in the guest OS. Remember that the guest OS start with NUMA. It only sees one NUMA node, but we want that when allocating memory bases to application processes, it considers the actual NUMA policy, not the NUMA one. So how can we do that? First, we need to take a look at how memory is managed in Linux. Memory is divided into zones. A zone can span across multiple nodes. Free memory bases in a zone are managed by the buddy system. The buddy allocator cuts memory bases into blocks of different base size. The most demanded blocks are one base block. So in order to increase the performance, there are per CPU base frame cache for this kind of block, one base block. Okay, so what do we modify? XPV partition the per CPU base cache and the buddy system by the number of physical nodes. So in a normal NUMA system, the byte allocator first search for a node and then a zone in a node. With XPV, it search for a zone first and then a node embedded in the zone. So with this, application can specify the NUMA policy it want to use. The OS will respect the use NUMA policy. Linux scheduler also use NUMA data, topology data for load balancing among the CPU. To simplify our implementation, we just use a single scaling domain for on the CPU. Regarding NB, it needs to be updated to yield the actual topology data in the same memory region instead of the NUMA topology. So next is the system runtime library, Java hotspot in this case. The default heap manager in Java divide memory heap in young generation and old generation. New object will be placed in young generation. If object survive long enough, it will be migrated to old generation. Young generation has a separate space on each NUMA node called hidden space. And old generation use interleave policy across over a set of NUMA nodes. So in XPV enable NUMA system, after each garbage collection, hotspot will check for new topology. And if there is a new topology, it will add and remove hidden space accordingly to the new topology. And it may need to update the CPU to node mapping in order for object allocation. So we would like to evaluate the performance, compare the performance of XPV with other technique. We focus on the performance metric only. Here, the baseline VM is where no policy is used. It's just like we have a NUMA machine, physical machine, with NUMA feature disabled in the BIOS. It's the baseline VM, no policy is used. The set of benchmark yield is based on a paper of a VMware paper. In this paper, it's select this set of benchmark to demonstrate the effectiveness of vNUMA. So we use this set of benchmark. Here, spec GPP share book Java, and web serving share book share for I/O application. Yeah. First, we compare XPV with vNUMA. In case of there is no topology change. Here we see that XPVI somehow better than vNUMA. Yeah, this can up to 70% different in terms of performance. We also compare XPV with Blackbox solution. In this case, it also is known there no topology. In this case, these results are normal. These results are normal because normally vNUMA or XPV will be better than other solution because the application know the application and the OS know the NUMA topology. It can optimize to increase the performance. Yeah. So for the dynamicity in NUMA topology, first is we do the migration, the VCPU migration. We launched three identical VM and overbook the CPU in order to cause the VCPU migration. After the migration rate depend on each application. It depends on the workload of the workload inside the VM. Here are some information about the workload, and we can see that XPV is outperform other solution. Yeah. We observed the similar result with ballooning, memory ballooning. It's memory migration, yeah, caused by ballooning. Yeah, that's okay. So in conclusion, we introduced XPV It's a technique for virtualizing NUMA architecture while taking account the NUMA changes, the NUMA topology changes at runtime. And we propose different systematic approach for implementing XPV in various systems, and we have very good performance. Thank you.
Time for a few questions. I have an initial question. So you're doing this in Para-Virtualization, which is obviously great, but you have to be able to modify the libraries, the OS, whatever else kind of thing. How much do you think you'd be able to use similar techniques in a sort of a fully virtualized system? Do you think you'd be able to do something almost as good, or would it not work at all?
We need to modify different software, but the modification is modest, I think, with the information. Very modest. I think it can be applied to generally to different solutions.
Any other questions in the audience? All right, let's thank the speaker.